Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Witch of Bees and Bones. I appreciate your outpouring of comments on my last video. Not gonna lie, that was a heavy one. I knew it was gonna be heavy, and I believe I said in the video I didn't think it was gonna get as heavy as it did, but here we are. So today is gonna be on a much lighter note, but I did want to mention how appreciative I am of all of you. We're also back to the better quality camera video situation thing. Tech is not my deal. My internet has been upgraded, so I haven't uploaded a video since, so I'm just hoping this goes smoothly. I have great faith that it will. I tested my internet this morning and I was like, whoa, that's really fast. So today I'm talking about a couple of decks that I found on Etsy, and I got them back at the beginning of February. What is time, right? So there are two decks. You can buy them separately. I got the bundle. I will link the shop down below. I have some pros and I have some cons when it comes, not even to the deck, but some little idiosyncrasies that I some of them I don't love. So I'm just going to put that out there. So the names of the decks are, the first one that we'll talk about is Dreams and Incarnations. So this is the box it comes in. I will say, so the bundle of these was $70 for the two decks. Did not include the guidebooks, which I'll get into in a moment, but just as a preface of cost. And so it's a, it's a cardboard box with a little kind of cardboardy insert. And it says Dreams and Incarnations Oracle deck. This deck was created with passion and care by J. Edward and Heather Neal. And then it says, for a full digital guidebook, please head down to downthedarkpath.com. So I'm going to do the cons first, so then we can end on a positive note. That seems like the right thing to do. The first thing I'm going to say is I don't love the box. I really like to keep my cards in their boxes, and I'm gonna use these, but there's nothing interesting or attractive about them, not to mention that there's nothing on the corners. And the other downside, and I know we haven't gotten to this deck, but there's nothing on this box that tells me what deck this is. So there's not even a sticker on the front of the second deck. Again, is this a deal breaker? No. Is it an irritation? Honestly, yes. I would have paid more for these decks if the quality of the box and the whole guidebook situation were better. So it's not the fault of the deck. It's this bitch loves good packaging, and I just feel like the packaging was an afterthought. And I understand that these things cost a lot of money and time and blood and sweat and tears to create. So again, not a deal breaker, but if you're a person like me who really likes, a nice box and a display box, these are not it. Secondly, so yes, you can print the guidebook offline. I understand wanting to save paper. And it does say that these cards are supposed to be used intuitively. Again, which is how I typically use decks. That said, as I've said multiple times, when we're especially using a new deck, it's nice to know what the artist wanted, what they were thinking of, what their keywords are, and such. The my next complaint, I'm not shitting on this deck. I promise. Like once I get that set out of the way, I've got good things to say. But I'm just trying to be really honest and transparent. So you can get the guidebook off of Amazon. These aren't available in the Etsy shop, at least at the time of purchase. I don't know if they are now. I probably should have checked now that I think of it. But when I ordered the decks, these were not available. And I sort of assumed, which one should never assume, that there'd be little guidebooks that came in the boxes. And then when they didn't, I looked and it said, "Oh, you can print it off." And so I looked at it and I didn't like how I didn't want to print it all off. I didn't want like random pieces of paper or folded or whatever. And I know that probably sounds, bitchy, but the way I keep my decks, it's like I keep my deck, and if the guidebook is separate from the pack, then it's like right next to it. And I just don't like the look of a bunch of folded paper. So the good news is Amazon, these books were $5.99 a piece. Totally worth it. I would have paid $10 or $12 on the Etsy site. So again, deal breaker, no. But it's just aesthetically, I had some issues with the packaging, so to speak, and the guidebook situation. So that said, I have learned that when I get too close to the screen, things get really washed out like this. So if I pull it back a little bit, you can see it better. So we're going to try that. So we're just going to go through here. These images are really, really beautiful. So window, just going to go up here. I'm going to actually, maybe we can use these. Abandonment. The imagery is beautiful. The decks are really intuitive, no doubt about that. You're going to have an easy time because of the images and because of the keywords. So if you like darker decks or a darker aesthetic, I really think that you'll enjoy both of these decks. Quarter. Decay. Desire. Dystopia. Falling. Falling is really lovely. I love this card. Now, granted, I'm a fire sign, but like, there's just something really beautiful about this card. I like how the artist chose to not do flames, because that's really easy to do, but that orangey red of the sky. Flying. You know how much this witch loves a Corvette. Whoops, we're just dropping things now, folks. Flying. Out. So yeah, I'll just do this real quick. Guardian. House. So again, darker aesthetic, great deck. The marriage card is interesting. Super easy to use, intuitive. Sleepwalker. The Novice, a little black kitten. The Stag. You probably, if you followed me on my personal Instagram, I'm a huge fan of the Hannibal television series with Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah, The Victim. These cards are lovely. And I'm glad I gave them a chance, because I really felt like they fell flat for me when I first got them, because I was disappointed about not having a guidebook. I was disappointed about not having an opportunity to order one. I was disappointed with the packaging. And so I put them on a shelf for a minute, and was just kind of snotty about it, honestly. We all have those moments. But and then but I picked it back up again, and I looked at the aesthetics, and the cards are very easy and they're very beautiful to me. As you know, as a reader who typically reads darker ish decks, when I'm not reading purely nature decks, it was a it's a really lovely deck. So I'm sorry I shit on it in the beginning. I really do enjoy them. I just wish that they were packaged a bit differently. The guidebooks are pretty basic. You know, there's nothing, can we, nope, hard to see. But it's, you know, it's a couple of paragraphs with some keywords. Again, if you're getting to know the deck, great, no problem. The next deck, which has, again, no labeling. I need to, you know, calm my tits about that, but it just really, it irks me. This is the Spirits and Shadows Oracle deck. This deck was conceived with love and care by J. Edward and Heather Neal, and then again for the full digital download. So this deck, again, also really beautiful. So we're not going to talk about the downsides anymore. We are going to talk about how gorgeous these decks are. So we have, this is the backing, which I like that it sets itself apart from, I'll just pop this back out again. Easy for me to say. So these are the backings. So there's obviously a stark difference in these decks. And again, I did buy them as a set. You can buy them separately. So if there's one that feels better to you, you can certainly do that. And I will link everything down below to make it to make life easier for you. So I think we're gonna use that box trick again. So Ascension. This autumn card is really lovely, although I'm really anxious for spring. Awakening. Creation. Death. I love a death card. Defiance. Divergence. This is really pretty. Door of Dreams. I'll just show you a couple more. Entanglement. This camera is the flipped image of what I'm used to seeing with my other camera, so I apologize for being awkward. Now that I'm using it again, I know that I'll get used to it. I appreciate your patience. Again, tech is not my thing. I'm trying real hard here, folks. So here's Exile. Love. Manifestation. I love a black cat. I love my black cat. She's stretched out in the sun in the other room. Meditation. This melting card is really lovely. I've had some cool readings with this card. Personal readings. I haven't used this for clients yet. I like to get the feel for a deck before I utilize it for clients. I like to know it really, really well, so I know what certain things mean, and how I intuit the deck and the symbols of it. I think I mentioned in a few videos ago, the term mischief keeps coming up, and I tend to be super serious and intense and all of that. And again, I like who I am and how I am, but I also need to like enjoy myself more and have fun. And so another mischief card showed up. And if any of you have more than a cat, you know how mischievous groups of cats are. Otherworldly. Passion. Patience. This, I want to talk a little bit about, not necessarily a card, but of patience. I've been chatting with some fellow Instagram / YouTube folks, and also other folks in my life. I feel like I have been really short on patience lately. I feel like I'm coming out of that, but with the snow and the seasons, and I consider March very liminal. Spring is supposed to start in a few days, but we're also supposed to potentially be getting more snow at the end of the week or the end of next week. And it's a hard spot because all I want is spring. And spring shows up when it's ready. Nature does its thing. I know this. I know this so well. It happens every year. But I'm getting really anxious, and so I've been going to a local greenhouse on my way to my shop just to kind of smell earth. And that has really been helping, and some meditation practices and some quiet time that doesn't involve a computer or a phone or a screen of any kind, or even a book. I've begun reading a little bit more lately, but just trying to, instead of pushing through the lack of patience and trying to like just get through it, I've acknowledged it and sat with it. So now I can actually move through it because I'm processing it. And I think that that's a cool lesson that I'm learning. I don't want to say I've learned it, but that I'm learning. Things get hectic, things get stressful, things get overwhelming. And I think that instead of being like, oh, I'm being crabby. Yes, acknowledge that you're being crabby. Acknowledge if you're being bitchy. I have a term for that, which I will not use here because, anyway, about myself, not about other people. But acknowledging it and being present in it, and then being like, okay, I don't want to feel this way anymore, and then moving through it is really important. So that was a tangent, but y'all seem to love my tangent. But I just wanted to mention that when that card came up about patience. And the maestro. I think we need to be kinder to ourselves. We need to stop using the word need. I think it's helpful if we both hold ourselves accountable but are kind to ourselves. So instead of shooting all over ourselves, just say, okay, this is where I'm at. I also don't want to set up shop here. The Seeker. So, again, this is tangential. I didn't want it to be a super heavy video, because last one was heavy for myself and for the folks watching it. Do you need these decks? If and I've seen some people do their top 10 decks that they'd always repurchase. I have to say, these would not be on that list for me, but they're solid decks. And they're interesting if you like a darker aesthetic. If you're doing shadow work, I think these would be fantastic. Again, the price point isn't insane. It's, again, the two of them together were $70, and then the books were another $12 on top of that. So not inexpensive by any stretch, but, these aren't what I would call investment decks. So I do enjoy them, but I don't think they're unless you're really called by the imagery, I don't think they're run out and get it immediately decks. I just saw someone post that they had just received their Woodland Wardens deck. They tagged me in their Instagram, and YouTube made me buy it, and it was they tagged both myself and Jess Reed's cards because we love the Woodland Wardens deck so much we just can't stop talking about it. That's a ride or die deck. That's a if anything happened in that deck, I'd buy it again in a second. Part of me really just wants to buy another one so I have it. So if it ever goes out of print or if something happens to my deck. But I'm trying to behave myself. Spring is coming, and I'm going to be doing some cool plantings on my property this year again, and or adding to them, I should say. So I want to be wise about where I spend my money. Behind me, I will get this straight at some point, are those two prints that I showed you all earlier. I got them framed. Not great images. The images are gorgeous, excuse me. Not great image in this video, but I'm just so thrilled with them. And I've got another piece that I'm going to kind of move this one up, and then another one is going to go in that like space in between. I imagine them larger, but that's on me. But they're really beautiful. So I appreciate you all so much. The Etsy shop is doing well, and it's been really fun. And I will link it below. If you're called to reach out for reading, please do so. If Etsy is not your thing for whatever reason, it does have its downsides. Feel free to reach out to me personally and we can figure something out on my Instagram. And I think that's all the business. So again, I know this is kind of a little all over the place, but I wanted it to be lighter than the last video. I've got a cool video coming up for you next week that I'm putting some finishing touches on. Fun, I hope interesting to y'all, but not super heavy. Because I need to be mindful of not being so incredibly heavy all the time. Mischief is good, right? So I will be back with you folks soon. I hope you have a really beautiful day or night or whatever it is when you're watching this. Please find something beautiful to see or hear or smell or taste today, and really soak it in, and I'll be back with you very soon. Bye.